Intense fighting continues as Ukraine takes action to further its EU ambitions. Russia is continuing its onslaught on eastern Ukraine as the latest intelligence suggests Moscow is planning a major new offensive on the anniversary of its invasion around February 24th. It's no surprise Kiev is stressing it needs more weapons, and now. Ukrainian forces on the front line of fighting near Soledar have been reporting shortages in ammunition for howitzers, limiting the range of their artillery capacity. And while Ukraine's troops are keeping up the fight, its civilians are having to live with the consequences of war. This school in the Kharkiv region was destroyed early in the conflict. There's been no opportunity to rebuild. On the political front, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky welcomed his Austrian counterpart Alexander van der Bellen. Kyiv is due to host a summit with leading EU officials this week, seen by Ukraine as highly important in its push for membership of the 27-member union. Fighting institutional corruption is also key to that bid. A fresh wave of anti-corruption raids on high-profile figures, including one of Ukraine's richest men and on the home of a former interior minister, appears to be part of that aim.
Norway is growing richer by the minute, with the war in Ukraine days away from the one-week mark. Since last year, the Scandinavian country has redoubled efforts to compensate the drop in Russian gas supplies to Europe following Moscow's invasion. But its Prime Minister insists it's not a war profiteer.
Money coming in from sales of oil and gas does not come to my budget. It comes into the pension funds, and this is our way of spreading those incomes to future generations. We are committed in Norway to maintain a high level of support to Ukraine. Norway is a fortunate country. We have income, we have, a possibility to make a difference, and I feel that responsibility.
Oslo has boosted gas exports by 8 to 10% and is now Europe's biggest supplier, helping the continent stay warm this winter. This year, the government forecasts its biggest ever budget surplus of 1.12 trillion kroner. The cash will help fuel Norway's sovereign wealth fund, already the world's largest.
Would you be willing to swap meat for insects? Well, just last week, the European Union gave the green light to sell house crickets and larvae for human consumption in powder and other dried forms. And this has caused quite a bit of a stir online, with certain social media users like this one claiming that the EU will force people to eat insects in flour, bread and pasta without their knowledge. And also in France, a right-wing politician slammed the EU's decision, saying that we cannot let the French eat insects without their knowledge. This whole apprehension comes from the idea that the EU will categorize insects as food and not clearly label them, whether they'll be mixed with other ingredients, such as, for example, flour. Well, here in theCUBE, we took a closer look at the official documents of the European Commission, and this is what we found. Number one here, it says that the Acheta domesticus, so the house cricket powder, will have to be clearly labeled. And number two, the labeling of the foodstuffs containing the house cricket powder shall bear a statement that this ingredient may cause allergic reactions to, for example, crustaceans, mollusks, and products thereof, and to dust mites. And most importantly here, this statement shall appear in close proximity to the list of ingredients. So in conclusion, you'll be able to see whether insect powder has been added to your favorite cereal or biscuits. But this isn't anything new, because the EU had already approved 2 other insects for human consumption a few years ago. But it's true that the thought of eating creepy crawlies is not everyone's cup of tea, and many in Europe would need a lot of convincing to add them to their diet. So according to this 2020 report by the European Consumer Organization, only 10.3% of Europeans are willing to eat insects on a regular basis. And according to another poll conducted by YouGov in 2021, France seems to be the country that's the most receptive to the idea, with 25% of respondents saying that they're willing to add insects to their regular diet. They were narrowly followed by Germany with 24% and then 22% in Denmark. Italy and Poland, however, were the most resistant to the idea, with only 18% of respondents saying yes to the idea in Poland and 17% in Italy, which is the lowest of this poll. But with the issue of our planet's growing population, as well as the pollution caused by the meat and dairy industry, more and more scientists believe that insects may be the key to curbing climate change.
Gli eventi climatici estremi stanno aumentando in Europa e nel mondo e con questi i loro effetti devastanti. Qui a Ischia una frana di enormi proporzioni si è abbattuta su un intero quartiere facendo 12 vittime. Le nostre città sono pronte per affrontare eventi climatici sempre più violenti? Ne parliamo nel nostro nuovo reportage di Euronews Witness.
Io qua mi sento sicuro. Se voi spostate una popolazione che è qua come noi, che siamo da 150-200 anni qua, ci spostate, voi ci avete ucciso lo stesso.
È ancora presto per capire quanto cambierà, ma è certo che cambierà. Qui occorre fare dei lavori di consolidamento dei versanti, dei bacini. Noi ci auguriamo che questi interventi siano rapidissimi.